Hi, everyone. It's Tessa.
And Joe.
From the Unveiling Paradise podcast.
Tessa, summer is almost here, and so many of our listeners are about to have their epic destination wedding.
And we are so excited for you guys.
Before the big day, guys, we want you to make sure you listen to these 3 episodes.
Episode 62, Deep Diving Your Wedding Ceremony.
Episode 53, Questions Your Wedding Guests Will Ask.
And episode 31, the final countdown to your wedding day.
And if you're planning your wedding here in Hawaii, hit us up and ask us about our Unveiling Paradise podcast promo.
Happy planning. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Super good.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm excited for today's episode.
Why?
Well, today we're going to be starting with a conversation that we had on our last episode. Do you remember what we talked about?
Oh, I do.
You were bashing wedding favors and welcome bags.
Yes, I am so excited to do this show because I think there's just so much stuff that people don't care about. It's like...
People meaning your guests, right?
It's not important to them. So this is going to be such a fun show.
Right. So today we're going to talk about things that your wedding guests won't care about.
Don't care about at all.
That don't care. They care little, but not a lot, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that they absolutely do care about.
Right. And so many of our couples put so much thought into this, and they're like, oh, I have to have the perfect favor, or I'm going to spend all this money on this stuff. And if your guests don't care, like, what a sad waste of your time.
Well, and again, it's time, it's money, and it's not that your guests don't care, but when you're looking at the overall wedding, right, and just your level of stress, the amount of money you're putting in, is it worth it? And I think that's what we want to talk about today. So, Joe, the other week I was working at a wedding and I was doing this setup, and it was a crazy amount of setup. You know, they had little frames with their signs to say, here's where you sign our guest book, here's where you do this, and there was all this signage, all of these little fake flowers that they wanted to tape onto each sign. Their welcome sign was, and it was over the top, and I kind of took a step back because they did a lot of this themselves. A lot of it was DIY, so we were doing a lot of this setup, and as I was setting it up, it took forever. As we were breaking down, same thing, right? It's a lot of things they have to pack up. They're not from here. So there's boxes and boxes of all of these items that they have to take home with them.
And throw away at the end of the day.
And throw away. And, their guests, I couldn't help think, did they even notice? Did they care? Their food was amazing. They had drinks. They had a great DJ. Their guests had a great time. Did all of these little things... Did it affect their guest experience? That's what I'm wondering.
Let me ask you a quick question. Did they have signs that were like, please wash your hands before you return to the wedding party?
No, but there were so many signs.
Because that's practical. I wouldn't mind that one. But
yeah, wash your hands, 20 seconds, sing happy birthday twice.
But you're right. So many times you see way too much of this. And do people really care?
And that's what today's show is about, right? We want to talk about 7 things that your wedding guest will not care about and 1 thing that they absolutely will. So let's get started. Welcome to Unveiling Paradise, your go-to destination wedding podcast. I'm Tessa, wedding planner and owner of Fred & Kate Events.
And I'm Joe, wedding and adventure photographer of Joseph Esser Photography. We are based in Hawaii, one of the biggest, most popular locations for destination weddings.
We want to share our real-life experiences with you, give you insight from a professional's perspective, and still make sure you're having fun in the process.
We're huge believers in the fact that planning a destination wedding can be one of the most amazing experiences, and we want to bring you along.
We're so excited to talk with you about weddings, Hawaii, and everything else under the sun.
So pack your bags and let's get started.
Okay, Tessa, I just opened up a big bottle of Haterade. And
That's so dumb.
And I'm ready to get into this. The things that your guests don't care about. And this is going to be so much fun. So let's have our little sip of Haterade and let's get into the show.
Okay, I'm going to take you down a notch because I feel like I'm not trying to hate on these things. All I'm saying is weddings are really expensive. You put a lot of time, energy, and money into these things. And so as a planner, as we go through the planning process, it's what are the things that are important to you? What are the things that are important to your guests? This is where you focus your time and money. The things that are less important, maybe it's not as important to spend money on them or spend time on them.
Especially if it's not being appreciated by anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not drinking the haterade.
Yet. Just wait.
Yet.
I'll give you a little sip.
We'll see. I guess.
Can I start, though? I really want to start.
Of course. Go for it.
Yeah.
Yes, go for it.
Here's my number one thing that your guests don't care about. Right? Okay, let's get into this. Your fancy invitations and your papery products, right? they don't care about this stuff, right? They just don't. Like, you spend all this money on these beautiful calligraphy paper goods, right? What happens to them? What happens? It's slammed maybe on your refrigerator, or they end up in the garbage, right? I don't think it's that important to spending $1,000 or $2,000 on wedding invitations is really a good use of your money.
Right.
Yeah?
I mean, I'm torn because I see your point, and I definitely feel like, once the wedding's over, you trash it, or, you don't always keep the invitation once you have it in your calendar. But again, as a planner, I feel like it's the first touch point for a wedding. And so if you're trying to do a very formal, elegant wedding, you're not going to send an Evite, right? You want that, you want that look, you want that feel. And so I can go both ways. I definitely can see your point. And I think, for a lot of people, especially now with the new trend of sending everything electronically, it's possible that we can get rid of invitations. But for the more traditional, for the more formal weddings, you have to send the fancy invitation. You just have to.
Okay, let me sell you on this then.
You can try.
All the fancy calligraphy name card holders, or those laser etched names that you put on the plate so that they know where they're sitting.
Right.
Do guys care about that at all?
So, I mean, it looks nice.
It does look nice.
You are right. At the end of the night, because I'm always the girl cleaning up at the end, there will always be a good handful that people leave, right? They're drunk. They're not keeping it. And they're not cheap. And we often will end up packing it up to give back to the couple to hand out to their guests later. Or I've seen people throw them away. Or when they get drunk, then they just break them for fun.
Right.
And it's kind of a bummer. I can see that being a waste of money if your guests don't appreciate it.
And it's expensive. I do want to say, though, I do love a beautiful wedding invitation suite for photos.
Yes.
Right? One beautiful invitation suite. You don't have to print 2,000 of these things, right? But for photos, that's something that I think we should definitely keep. But sending that out to everybody, I'm happy to cut this completely.
So you think just one invitation for photo?
I love that.
It?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was an all or nothing. I didn't even think about having one.
Why not? Why can't you just have one for your photos? And that's what people are going to look at probably.
Do you still have your wedding invitation?
Yes, we do.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah. So, I mean, but
I guess you can keep it.
Guess who doesn't? Everyone else who went to our wedding.
I think my mom still has mine.
Yeah, well, okay, so your mom's doesn't. But everybody else, it's been in the garbage. It's been incinerated a long time ago.
Right. That's fair.
All right, Tessa, have a little sip of my haterade. You're next.
I don't want to hate on anything, but I do want to bring up a soft point, if you will.
Okay, go. All right, go.
You talked about this on our last episode, and it was just the waste from favors and welcome bags. And I do, to some degree, agree with you. The welcome bags, right? The canvas totes, you often will put a map, you'll put water bottles. And again, a lot of that, I think, goes to waste. As a wedding planner, I'm often the one that's assembling them. And they're trying to put together these really cute, really fun welcome bags that at the end of the day, people will carry them during their trips or bring them to the wedding. But they often get left behind at the wedding because no one knows whose is whose. Nobody wants them anymore. They're leaving, right? So it's not a sustainable option, I guess, right? There are other things that you can do as a welcome gift to people.
Why do you need to put a map? These canvas totes, I'm pretty sure that technology is dead. I've never seen a map for 20 years, but you do see these how to walk across the street. It's not necessary. Everything's online.
It's true. And that's why I'm I guess I can see how the welcome bags are kind of going out of style. What I like to see now is instead of a welcome bag, is on their website, a lot of people are giving just suggestions on their stay, right? So whether it be cool restaurants, cool hikes, places to visit, places of interest, I think that's a lot more exciting now than a traditional welcome bag.
Yeah, and I'm all about sustainability. All that stuff is just going to be waste. But all that information, everybody's just looking on their phone anyway. So don't waste money.
Right.
Save it for something that's awesome.
Right. Agree.
Save it for your photographer.
Our wedding planner. And I think the other one that I want to talk about real quick is the favors, because I know that you are against favors. I do like favors, but I always will lean in towards food favors, like cookies, candy. I tend to avoid the shot glasses, the wine glass. It's hard to take home. And, unless you're like, I don't know, 21, do you want a single shot glass with like the couple's name on it?
Totally agree with you. Like, have you been at weddings where they have these like custom like beer koozies?
Yeah.
Like that just goes in the garbage. It's just, and like any of that custom stuff, nobody's sitting around 2 years later with like,
right.
your wedding koozie. It's just, I don't know.
Right.
So if I think favors, if you do it well. Right. Or just don't do it at all.
And they don't have to be expensive. So I did a wedding last month, and what was really cool, right, is they didn't want to spend a lot of money on favors, and they had a pretty large wedding, I think 250. And so what they did is they just took a little bag and they filled it with like 3 Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And like everybody loves Reese's peanut butter cups. Yeah. People were literally eating it at the tables. Like there were no left behind. None.
The one favorite that I've actually been in love with though was this. It was a custom chocolate dipped fortune cookie. And inside the fortune cookie was a little message to the guests. And after the fact, like a couple days later, I got to take home one of these cookies. It was so awesome because it's like, I'm going to eat it. And then I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then I'm throwing it away. But like, just that little piece of paper I'm throwing away.
That's so funny.
And I like that. But I mean, I think you have to think of these things as disposable. I would rather dispose of candy and food than, just whatever junk.
Okay, I personally don't like fortune cookies, but I think it's a cute idea because it's custom but edible, so people can kind of eat it. It's good. It's delicious. Let me tell you, I did a wedding once, and they were totally into dolphins. So they had dolphin-themed centerpieces, dolphin-themed, just like, I think her color was like an ocean blue. So
Did she have a tail for her dress?
Dressed like a mermaid. No, I'm kidding. But she was totally into dolphins. So she had this great idea. I guess there's somewhere locally that she found where they could make wood carved dolphins.
Oh my
And they were like $25 each. Like they weren't cheap favors. And I want to say there were about 60, 70 people at the wedding. It was like years ago.
Yeah.
And so she made custom wooden dolphins for everyone as the favor.
Oh my gosh. How many of those got left behind?
There were more than half of these little sad wooden dolphins left behind because nobody wanted them. And they were probably around 6 inches long, but it's just nobody wanted to take this home with them. And I felt awful, they weren't cheap.
Think about that, like how much money was spent on this thing that nobody wanted. And I think that's just being conscious of that guest experience and what they're going to be into. Like, don't waste your money on this stuff.
Right, like peanut butter cups?
Yeah.
Or wooden dolphin? What would you choose?
This wooden dolphin is probably pretty weird. I kind of want it.
I'm going to try to find a picture. I think I have a picture. And it was so thoughtful. And again, still on theme with her wedding, but...
Too much. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted it.
No, nobody wanted the wooden dolphin.
Poor girl.
I felt bad. I know.
Okay, I know that you guys are going to hate this one, but I have to say it. Nobody wants to see choreographed first dances.
Stop.
I'm serious.
That's awful. No, you are wrong. You are 100% wrong.
Okay, here's my thought. Couples will spend a year perfecting this dance, right? They go to dance classes and everything, and then they're in front of everybody, and everyone's just like, wow. Cool. You know what I mean? And it's not, like for the couple, it's amazing to do, like bonding and everything. But your guests, I don't think your guests really care that you've learned to dance.
No, I disagree 100%. I think the fact that you guys put in that time and your guests can see that, I think that's an amazing experience. It sounds like you have something against it. Like, did you have an issue with your first dance, Joe?
Okay, well, yes, I did do a choreographed first dance.
Nice.
It wasn't really choreographed. We learned how to dance, but like we learned that in a studio. And like when you're dancing in a studio, you're wearing shorts. When you're actually, your wedding day, my wife had a big wedding dress and I stepped on that thing all day long. And like in the end, I think we just ended up like kind of just cuddling and like rocking back and forth. but like nobody cared if we just did that or if we had, perfected this amazing dance. Nobody cared. It was our first dance.
So you're saying that it was important to you and your wife, not necessarily to your guests.
Right. I don't think anybody cared. I mean, unless, okay, small caveat, unless you do something epic. If you're going to do a choreographed first dance, it has to be epic.
Did you lift her in the air?
No,
like Dirty Dancing?
No, none of that stuff.
Come on.
No, I didn't do anything epic. So.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I do think that that's the only time where your guests are like, wow, this is awesome. But otherwise, I just personally see so many awkward choreographed dances where I'm like, I think I would be better off if they just kind of like cuddled and rocked and swayed a little bit, personally.
Honestly, I've seen a lot of awkward choreographed first dances too. So
see,
I get it, but I still like it.
Okay.
Fine.
Your guests don't care though.
Fine. So this is one that I feel very strongly about, and it's the slideshow. It's the 15, 20-minute slideshow during your program where you're watching 1,000 pictures of you as a baby, your significant other as a baby, you in diapers, you in the bathtub, you growing up, you with your family, you with your friends. It takes so long. It takes so much time. And I think people just want to get to the dancing. They just want to get to the end of the program. Or, I don't know. It just, the slideshow kills me. It's so long. And I feel like when I'm watching a slideshow as a guest, all I'm looking for is myself. Like, am I in these pictures? Oh, now it's her friends. Great. Now I'm in this one picture. But it's a lot. I don't know. I don't think that guests need to or want to watch the whole thing.
I love the fact that you're starting to drink my haterade.
I know. As I was saying it, I'm like, oh my God, Joe's like getting to me.
Totally agree with you. Like, this is one of those things where it's like,
you do.
15 minutes and you're like, wow, like you were a cute baby, but like, I wouldn't want to do this in real life. Like, am I forced to do this like now for 15 minutes in front of everybody? And then I feel like for guests, they're like, we have to try to pay attention to look like we care, but we don't really care unless you see yourself in the slideshow. People ask us all the time to put together slideshows, and we will do that for our couples, but there's a caveat. Like, you cannot have 15 minutes. This should be like 5-6 minutes max.
Right.
Just if you're going to do it, people don't want to pay attention. They don't want to watch this.
Right. Is there a better way to do it where you can have the slideshow, but not during the program?
That's actually great that you asked that, because this is something that I always talk about is if you're going to do a slideshow, you can put together a 3-hour slideshow, but put it in a corner so that people who want to watch can, be sipping on their drinks and they're not like forced to watch it as an audience. Put it in the corner, let that thing just be on loop. And then, you can have that if you want it.
I do. And I love that. So we will often have the slideshow running during dinner. So again, like, people can be watching it. It's a little more passive. It's not taking time away from anything else. So if you do it that way, I feel like it's a little better. I think putting it during your program, it's a lot for your guests to watch.
And you're killing the party. Like, no, I don't know. I agree with you.
You're killing the party. I think something else that we had kind of talked about earlier is it's more money, right? So you need to rent a screen, you need to rent a projector, possibly a table. I don't know, those cables that have to attach to the music, like a lot of other stuff that you're spending money. Is it worth it for this 15-minute slideshow to spend another couple $100 to show this thing that nobody wants to watch?
Right. I love it.
Whew, I drank too much of that haterade.
Oh, we got a lot more to talk about.
No.
You're going to hate me for saying this. Cake.
Stop.
I think the wedding cake. Stop. And it's not that I hate wedding cakes. I think your guests do not care at all about your wedding cake. They just don't care. They're not like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to eat that, thing that was baked 3 years ago.
I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Wait. You love cakes, but I do think that most guests are like, they really care about the wedding cake.
Yes. Who doesn't care about cake other than you?
No, okay. So I knew you were going to hate this one, but I'm going to stand my ground on this. I don't think any of your guests actually care about this wedding cake. So I say, if a cake is important to you, have the bottom 2 tiers be like made out of that cardboard or whatever, like foam stuff, and have a little bit of piece of cake for you guys as a couple. Don't spend all your money on something that I don't think people are going to eat. I know you don't agree.
I'm like staring at Joe so hard right now. Glaring.
Stop. You're hurting my feelings.
I disagree. I think people like cake. And I think back to this TikTok that I saw where I think it was a couple, bride and groom, and they, I guess, forgot to cut their cake or didn't. And a guest went up and like cut herself a piece of cake. That would be me.
She would have been the only guest that was like...
No, she was like serving it to people because everybody wanted cake.
I have one question you have to be honest with.
Fine.
When that cake gets served, how many people actually eat it at a wedding? I'm just being honest. Like, how many people are actually like, oh my God, I've been waiting all night for this piece of cake?
Okay, listen. This is kind of a tricky answer because if you cut the cake at the end of the night and everyone's dancing and you're serving the cake, of course no one's going to do that.
Right.
No one's going to eat the cake. But this is why I tell people, cut your cake earlier, serve it right after dinner as part of dessert, and everybody eat the cake.
Okay, calm down.
I'm getting worked up. I'm like yelling at Joe. Sorry.
I see this as waste, though. I do.
I'm so angry with you right now.
I see it as waste. I see so much cake getting thrown in the garbage, and that probably breaks your heart.
It breaks my heart, but it's timing. It's because they serve it too late.
Okay,
it really is timing. I've got to calm down.
Oh man, well you get the next one then.
I know. I've got to
She's angry, guys.
I know. I got to take a breath. Okay, I'm gonna drink the haterade again, because one thing that I definitely think guests don't care about is the guest book and all of that random check-in table stuff. So what I mean by that is that guest book where you're signing your address, your name, like they have your address. Why do we need to write it again?
That is so random, right? At this day and age, why do you still need to put someone's address into a book? Like,
right.
What do you do with that?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know. Like, you have the address. You've sent invitations. I don't even know why it's there. And the other part, right, is all of the other items. So what's really important now is instead of a guest book, they have alternatives. So a sign where people will put their thumbprint, or when they sign the Jenga blocks, or when they have, the Polaroids and they have to stick it into a book with a note. I think they're really cool by concept, but not everybody does it, or not everybody wants to do it, or it takes too long, or they just forget, or they want to drink. And so I feel like a lot of times I'm walking up to guests, I'm like, hey, can you please take a picture? Can you please sign this guest book? And you're forcing people to do it. And then the couple is like, why? They had this vision of it being totally complete, every Jenga block signed, and it's not. And then they're like, it's incomplete. It doesn't look as good when, half the people have signed it and the other half is blank.
Okay, so this one, I'm actually going to have a little bit of a different opinion on this.
Really?
I think that some of these things, like, so if it's like the Jenga blocks or whatever, this you're making your guests do for you. Like, it's important to you. It's not important. The guests don't really want to do it, right? They don't care about it. But it's like, for you, it's like that thing. I also want to say, the guest book. I think if we look at the history of weddings, right, the guest book was a really important thing back in probably our parents' day when people would bring actual wedding gifts to a wedding reception. I don't think people do that anymore. And I think before it would be like, okay, we've got this big box. Who gave us this big box? And you would put like a little sticker, right, to make sure that you know who gave you what gift. And that's why the guest book was about maybe more taking stock of who gave what, so you could send those things. People don't do that anymore. There's no need for that anymore.
Venmo.
Yeah,
Venmo the gift.
Venmo the gift. Or everybody has their registries that all get shipped directly to your house. I do, however, I like this signature guest book where the guest will make a little message to the couple, and it's a keepsake thing. And again, it's for the couple, it's not for the guests to even enjoy.
Right. I get what you're saying, but again, if we're kind of taking it back to the fact that what are things that guests don't care about, this is it.
True.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, all right. This is going to be sad for all of our listeners, but I hate to break it to you. Your guests don't care about the bouquet toss or the garter toss. In fact, I think for a lot of people, it's sort of cringy. They're like, I see like this exodus out of like a reception when they're like, okay, if you aren't married, stand up. And now everyone's like, go, run.
Or have you noticed the MCs have been getting trickier where they're like, everybody stand.
Yes, of course.
And then, if you are, a dude, sit down. And then whatever. Like, I'm like, you're tricking me. I'm going to leave no matter what.
Yeah. Your guests don't want to do it. I mean, I think for like, as a photographer, It's one of the more fun moments to capture that bouquet flying through the air and like seeing who catches it. That's kind of a fun, like complicated thing for us to do, but your guests don't really want to do it.
I totally agree. I think it can be so awkward. If you're the only single girl in the room,
Right.
you don't want to be standing there by yourself. Or if you're married, you're like, I've already been through this. Like, why are you going to make me do this again? So I definitely feel like this is something that your guest will not care if you choose to eliminate this. And again, it takes away some time from your program. It will speed things along and you can get to the party, the drinking, the dancing sooner.
So we don't really have a whole lot for this wedding that we're attending. Where
I know. There's alcohol.
There's no favors. There's no bouquet toss.
There is cake.
We don't even know who's showing up. There is no cake. We got no cake.
We've cut our guest list down.
I love it. It sounds like a good wedding.
What are we doing?
Right. Well, let's talk about the last point. What is the one thing that your guests do care about?
Right. Okay. And I think that you and I are not on the same page about this, but what I think guests really care about is having an assigned seat.
Wait, this is what you think that they care about the most?
Yes. And let me explain why. Why. I've done weddings and I've attended weddings where they are open seating. And it's because people want it to be very casual. They want people to just kind of flow and go what they want to do and sit with who they want to. But it's a hot mess. And let me tell you why. I've attended a wedding.
I have to stop you for a second, Tessa. I don't think that Uncle Jerry is sitting, like getting ready for the wedding saying, oh, I'm so nervous. Are they going to have assigned seating or open seating?
Listen, I think Uncle Jerry is thinking exactly that. And this is why.
All right.
Right? Say you have 100 people.
I do.
Listen, you have 100 people. I'm going to get as worked up as the cake.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And you have 10 tables with 10 seats each. What will happen by nature is people will go in. When the doors open, the young kids tend to get in first. They're faster. People tend to sit and leave seats between them, right? Think about a movie theater, right? You don't sit right next to the person. So you're taking these seats. The people that come in the second half, all of a sudden, there are not seats together. Or grandma's the last one in and there's no seat in the front for her, right? So you have all of these mismatched of people. No one's sitting by, by people they know. You're now trying to move chairs or ask people to move. Like every single open seat wedding I've done or attended has honestly been a mess.
Okay. I think this is the thing that you care about. I want to bring this back to this original question. What do guests really care about?
Having a seat at the wedding.
No. I don't know how you slip this in. I don't know how you slip. Your guests, this is the most important thing. If you guys are still listening after Tessa work through that, I don't know how she got that in there. It's about the experience. It's always about the experience.
Exactly.
It's not about seating. It's about creating a reception that everyone is enjoying themselves.
Exactly.
And making sure that they have that space. Nobody cares about a lot of this stuff. The party, the dancing, the music, the food. This is super important.
People want to know where I'm putting my bag. Who am I sitting next to? I think it's so important.
Stop. You gotta stop.
This is so important.
This is
walking into a ballroom and being frantic and fighting with people of where to sit. Like
that doesn't happen.
This helps you.
You have to stop. Let's bring it back to what we are really talking about. It's about the experience. It's about the reception or the wedding day experience. That's it. Do you have great food? Is there great music? Is there great entertainment? Is there great dancing? Are there great moments? Nobody cares about your favors. Nobody cares about the guest book. Nobody cares about expensive calligraphy place card holders. They care about the party. They care about the event, I think.
Right. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, your wedding is about the guest experience. Create that experience that you want your guests to have. Weddings are expensive, so don't spend your money on every single thing. Focus your time, focus your energy, focus your money on the things that are important to you, that you think will create the experience that you want for your guests. Those are the things that they're going to remember at the end of the day.
Okay, I just finished up that bottle of Haterade. It was delicious.
Did it taste real good?
Lemon lime Haterade. You can't beat it. All right, but let's quickly recap the 7 things. I'm going to say it's actually 8 things that that your guests won't care about. Fancy invitations, paper goods, they don't care.
Wedding favors, welcome bags, they don't care.
Your first dance, they don't care.
A long, drawn-out slideshow, they don't care.
Cake, yes, Tessa, cake. They don't care.
They do, but whatever. Guest book, check-in items, they don't care.
Bouquet toss, garter toss, they still don't care.
And the last one that I think they do care is assigned seating. They do care.
They do not care. They will care about the experience that they have at your wedding. And those are the things that they're going to remember.
They will care about the experience. I agree.
Not where they sit.
They will care.
Oh my gosh. I have no idea how you snuck that in.
You don't read the notes. That's on you.
That is exactly what a wedding coordinator would put. They don't care though. Okay, thanks everyone for listening today. We hope you found this useful information. Weddings are expensive. Spend the money where your guests are going to really enjoy it. And as always, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and of course, listen to us.
Please listen.
Really important to the podcast. And email us if you guys have any questions or any topics you guys want us to discuss.
See you guys back here next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Unveiling Paradise.
If you enjoy our show, please follow us and rate us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would really mean a lot.
And don't forget to also get on our mailing list and follow us on Instagram. Just do it already.
Until next time, this is Tessa.
And this is Joe.
And don't forget, your happily ever after
It's just a plane ride away.